The year was 2150, and the planet Earth was no longer the vibrant, life-filled world it once was. Over centuries, humanity's relentless exploitation of natural resources, pollution, and disregard for the environment had pushed the planet to a breaking point. The effects of climate change, once a distant threat, had become an immediate and devastating reality. In the final decades of the 21st century, extreme weather events became the new norm. Superstorms ravaged coastlines, flooding cities and obliterating entire communities. Heat waves reached unprecedented levels, causing widespread droughts that turned fertile lands into deserts. Wildfires, fueled by dry conditions, swept across continents, leaving charred landscapes in their wake. The oceans, which had absorbed much of the excess heat and carbon dioxide, reached critical levels of acidity, causing mass die-offs of marine life. Coral reefs, once teeming with color and biodiversity, bleached and crumbled into ruins. Fish populations plummeted, depriving countless species, including humans, of vital food sources. Forests, the lungs of the earth, were not spared. Ancient woodlands and rainforests succumbed to pests and diseases that thrived in the altered climate. The symphony of life that once filled these forests, birds singing, insects buzzing, animals calling, fell silent as species after species vanished. Humanity watched in horror and disbelief as the natural world collapsed around them. The realization that they were witnessing the end of an era, the sixth mass extinction, dawned slowly but inexorably. Governments and organizations scrambled to respond, but their efforts were often too little, too late. To cope with the unlivable conditions, massive domed cities were constructed. These cities, marvels of engineering, were designed to be self-sustaining ecosystems. The domes filtered out the polluted air, maintained stable temperatures, and provided clean water and food through advanced hydroponics and artificial environments. Inside these domes, the remnants of humanity sought refuge. The domed cities were not just a means of survival, but also a desperate attempt to preserve some semblance of the natural world. Within the domes, artificial ecosystems were created, complete with synthetic trees, digital birdsong, and holographic wildlife. However, these artificial constructs could never replace the real thing. The psychological toll of living in such an environment was immense, as people mourned the loss of the natural world they once took for granted. Outside the domes, the earth had become a wasteland. The absence of animal life was striking. Once familiar sights, flocks of birds, herds of deer, schools of fish, were now memories. The silence was deafening. Without the chorus of life, the world felt eerie and empty. The extinction of so many species left a void that nothing could fill. The few animals that survived outside the domes were those that could adapt to the harshest conditions. Rats, cockroaches, and other resilient creatures thrived in the ruins of human civilization. But these survivors were a far cry from the rich biodiversity that had once graced the planet. Humanity mourned not just for the lost species, but also for the lost connections to the natural world. Rituals and traditions that had revolved around nature felt hollow. The sense of wonder that came from exploring forests, swimming in oceans, and observing wildlife was gone. A profound sense of guilt pervaded society as people grappled with the realization that their actions had brought about this catastrophe. In the midst of this sorrow, a glimmer of hope remained. Scientists and researchers dedicated themselves to finding ways to restore the Earth's ecosystems. Genetic repositories were established to store DNA samples of extinct species, preserving the possibility of one day bringing them back. Efforts to clean and rehabilitate the environment continued, even as the odds seemed insurmountable. The collapse was not just a time of endings, it was also the beginning of a new chapter. Humanity faced a stark choice: to give up and accept the barren world they had created, or to fight for a future where life could once again flourish. The resolve to choose the latter set the stage for the next phase of human existence, a phase defined by resilience, adaptation, and a deep commitment to healing the planet they had nearly destroyed. Inside the domes, humanity clung to the last vestiges of the natural world. Scientists worked tirelessly to preserve what remained of Earth's once abundant biodiversity. They established genetic repositories where DNA samples of extinct species were stored in the hope that future generations might find a way to bring them back. These repositories became the sacred vaults of humanity's lost heritage. Dr. Elena Ramirez, a renowned biologist, spearheaded the ARC project, a last-ditch effort to save the remaining animal species. The Ark was a sprawling facility located deep within the largest dome, housing a variety of animals in carefully controlled environments. The goal was to keep these species alive long enough to find a solution to the ecological disaster outside. Despite the best efforts, the animals in the Ark faced numerous challenges. The artificial habitats, no matter how advanced, could not perfectly replicate the complex interplay of factors that existed in their natural environments. Many species began to exhibit signs of stress and decline. It became clear that simply preserving the animals in captivity was not a viable long-term solution. The team of researchers, led by Dr. Ramirez, experimented with various methods to alleviate the animals' stress and improve their health. They tried modifying the artificial environments, altering diets, and even using virtual reality to simulate more natural surroundings. Yet, the animals continued to suffer, and one by one they began to die off. This period was marked by intense frustration and heartbreak. Every loss was a painful reminder of the fragility of life and the magnitude of the catastrophe that had befallen the planet. The researchers faced ethical dilemmas, questioning whether it was right to continue their efforts or if it was more humane to let these last creatures go. In a bold move, Dr. Ramirez turned to genetic engineering and cloning in a desperate bid to save the species. She proposed a radical idea to enhance the animals' genetic resilience, making them more adaptable to the harsh conditions of the outside world. The concept was controversial, stirring debates about the ethical implications of such manipulation. With approval from the governing council of the domed city, Dr. Ramirez and her team began the painstaking process of gene editing. They used CRISPR technology to insert genes from more resilient species into the DNA of endangered animals, hoping to create hybrids capable of surviving outside the domes. The first experiments showed promise. The engineered animals displayed improved health and adaptability. Encouraged by these results, the team expanded their efforts, cloning and modifying more species. However, the emotional and ethical weight of their work hung heavily over them. They were acutely aware that they were treading on uncertain ground, playing God with the fabric of life itself. As the project progressed, the researchers faced growing public scrutiny. Critics argued that the modified animals were no longer truly the species they were meant to save. Others feared unforeseen consequences that could arise from releasing genetically altered creatures into the wild. Dr. Ramirez herself struggled with these concerns. She spent sleepless nights poring over data, questioning her decisions, and seeking guidance from colleagues and philosophers. The team held numerous debates and consultations, striving to balance the urgency of their mission with the moral implications of their actions. Amidst the turmoil, a breakthrough occurred. One of the engineered species, a type of bird known as the phoenix sparrow, showed remarkable resilience. It adapted quickly to various environments, thriving even in conditions that would have been lethal to its unmodified counterparts. The phoenix sparrow became a symbol of hope and a potential key to restoring life outside the domes. With renewed determination, Dr. Ramirez and her team prepared to release the first group of engineered animals into the wild. They meticulously selected species that played crucial roles in their ecosystems, hoping to kickstart a chain reaction of restoration. The process was fraught with risks, but the potential rewards were too great to ignore. As the sun set on the Ark, casting long shadows over the last sanctuary of Earth's animals, humanity held its breath. The fate of the planet rested on the success of these daring experiments. The release of the modified animals marked a pivotal moment, a tentative step towards healing a wounded world and rekindling the flame of life on Earth. The ARC project's efforts began to yield promising results. The genetically engineered animals adapted better than expected, sparking a cautious optimism among the scientists. However, the underlying issue of humanity's survival in a post-apocalyptic world remained unresolved. It was during this time of intense research and experimentation that Dr. Elena Ramirez made a groundbreaking discovery. Late one night, while analyzing a set of ancient human DNA sequences, Dr. Ramirez stumbled upon a peculiar pattern. Embedded within the genetic code were sequences that seemed dormant, yet suggested a remarkable potential for adaptation. Intrigued, she delved deeper, cross-referencing the sequences with genetic data from the modified animals. The results were astonishing. The dormant genes, when compared to the engineered resilience genes, showed a striking similarity. It appeared that humans, like the animals they were trying to save, possessed an inherent capacity for extraordinary adaptability, an ability that had been suppressed or simply unused in the relatively stable conditions of the past millennia. The discovery of these dormant genes sent shockwaves through the scientific community. If activated, these genes could potentially allow humans to survive and even thrive in the harsh conditions outside the domes. This revelation posed both a tremendous opportunity and a profound ethical dilemma. Dr. Ramirez presented her findings to the governing council and the scientific community. The implications were debated fiercely. Some saw this as the key to humanity's future, a way to reclaim the Earth and restore balance. Others were wary, fearing the unknown consequences of tampering with the human genome. After much deliberation, the governing council approved a controlled experiment. A volunteer group of humans, willing to undergo genetic modification, would be the first to test the theory. This group, dubbed the Pioneers, consisted of individuals from various backgrounds: scientists, engineers, farmers, and soldiers, all united by their desire to restore the planet. Dr. Ramirez led the project, using advanced CRISPR technology to activate the dormant genes. The process was intricate and fraught with risks. Each pioneer underwent rigorous preparation, including physical training and psychological counseling, to ensure they were ready for the transformation. The day of the first transformation was both thrilling and terrifying. The pioneers were placed in specialized chambers, where the gene editing process would take place. As the machinery hummed to life, injecting the modified DNA sequences into their bodies, a tense silence filled the room. The scientists monitored every aspect of the procedure, ready to intervene at the slightest sign of trouble. When the process was complete, the pioneers emerged from the chambers. Initially, there were no visible changes, but over the following weeks, their bodies began to exhibit remarkable adaptations. Their skin became more resilient to UV radiation, their lungs more efficient at filtering toxins, and their metabolism optimized to extract maximum nutrients from limited resources. With their new abilities, the pioneers were sent outside the domes to test their adaptations in the real world. Equipped with survival gear and accompanied by drones for monitoring, they ventured into the desolate landscapes that had once been lush and vibrant. The initial forays were cautious, but as the pioneers grew more confident, they began to push the boundaries of their endurance. The results were promising. The pioneers not only survived, but started to thrive. They established small outposts, testing the feasibility of long-term habitation. They planted genetically modified crops that could grow in poor soil and began to purify water sources using advanced filtration techniques. Slowly, life began to return to the barren land. News of the pioneers' success brought a wave of hope and excitement to the domed cities. The possibility of returning to the outside world and rebuilding the Earth seemed within reach. More volunteers stepped forward, ready to undergo the transformation and join the efforts to reclaim the planet. Dr. Ramirez and her team continued to refine the gene editing process, making it safer and more effective. They worked tirelessly to ensure that humanity's second chance would not be squandered. The revelation of the hidden genetic code had not only provided a path to survival, but had also ignited a renewed sense of purpose and unity among the human race. As the pioneers paved the way for a new era of human existence, the domed cities began to prepare for a future beyond their protective barriers. The revelation had set the stage for humanity's next great adventure, the restoration of a world that had once been lost, now teeming with the promise of rebirth and renewal. The success of the pioneers inspired a massive wave of transformation as more individuals volunteered to undergo genetic modification. The domed cities became bustling centers of preparation and training, with people eager to embrace the new frontier. Dr. Elena Ramirez and her team worked tirelessly to scale up the gene editing process, ensuring that it was both safe and effective for the larger population. The transformation centers were expanded and equipped with the latest technology. Scientists refined the CRISPR technique, enhancing its precision and reducing the time needed for genetic modifications. Medical teams were trained to monitor and support the transformed individuals, addressing any complications that arose. The selection process for volunteers was rigorous. Individuals had to undergo extensive physical and psychological evaluations to ensure they were fit for the transformation. They were trained in survival skills, environmental science, and the use of advanced technology to aid in the restoration efforts. The spirit of camaraderie and determination among the volunteers was palpable. As more people were transformed, the domed cities began to empty. Groups of transformed humans, now referred to as new humans, embarked on expeditions to different parts of the world. They carried with them seeds of genetically modified plants, portable water purification systems, and other tools necessary for rebuilding ecosystems. The exodus from the domes was a momentous event. Families bid farewell to the only home they had known, filled with hope and a sense of responsibility. They were leaving behind the safety of the domes to face an uncertain but promising future. The journey was symbolic, a departure from a past marked by destruction and a step towards a future of renewal. The new humans spread out across the globe, targeting areas with potential for ecological restoration. Their initial focus was on re-establishing plant life, which would form the foundation for entire ecosystems. They planted resilient crops and fast-growing trees, carefully selecting species that could thrive in the altered climate. Water sources were purified and revitalized. Advanced filtration systems removed toxins, while algae and other microorganisms were introduced to restore aquatic ecosystems. Rivers and lakes that had long been polluted began to teem with life once again. The sight of clear water and green shoots breaking through the soil brought tears of joy to many eyes. As the environment began to recover, the new humans established small, sustainable communities. These settlements were designed to have minimal impact on the environment, using renewable energy sources and innovative waste management systems. The architecture blended with the natural surroundings, creating harmonious habitats that supported both human and ecological needs. The communities were not just about survival, they were about thriving in harmony with nature. Education and cultural activities were centered around the principles of environmental stewardship and sustainability. Children grew up learning the value of every living organism and the interconnectedness of life on Earth. The journey was not without challenges. The new humans encountered remnants of the old world, cities reduced to ruins, landscapes scarred by pollution, and unpredictable weather patterns. They faced these obstacles with resilience, using their enhanced abilities and collective knowledge to find solutions. One of the most significant challenges was dealing with the psychological impact of leaving the domes and facing the vast, empty world outside. Support systems were put in place, including counselors and mental health professionals, to help individuals cope with the transition. The sense of community and shared purpose played a crucial role in overcoming these difficulties. In a symbolic milestone, a group of new humans successfully reintroduced a genetically engineered species, the phoenix sparrow, into a restored forest. The birds adapted quickly, finding food and shelter in the newly planted trees. Their melodic songs filled the air, a testament to the resilience of life and the success of the transformation efforts. This triumph was celebrated across all the settlements. It marked the first tangible evidence that the Earth's ecosystems could be revived, that life could once again flourish outside the domes. The phoenix sparrow became a symbol of hope, its vibrant presence a reminder of what humanity could achieve when working in harmony with nature. Dr. Elena Ramirez watched these developments with a mixture of pride and humility. Her vision of a reborn Earth was becoming a reality thanks to the collective efforts of the new humans. She knew that the journey was far from over, that many more challenges lay ahead, but she was filled with optimism. The transformation had not just altered human DNA, it had transformed humanity's relationship with the planet. The new humans understood their role as stewards of the Earth, committed to nurturing and protecting the fragile web of life. They were not just surviving in a changed world, They were thriving and guiding the planet towards a new era of ecological harmony. As the sun set on the fourth chapter of humanity's story, it cast long golden rays over a landscape in the midst of healing. The future was still uncertain, but it was bright with the promise of rebirth and renewal. Years passed since the first new humans ventured out of the domes, and the world had changed dramatically. The planet, once on the brink of lifelessness, was now showing remarkable signs of recovery. Forests were regrowing, rivers were flowing clean, and the air was becoming breathable again. The Earth was undergoing a rebirth, driven by the tireless efforts of the transformed humanity. Restoring ecosystems. The new humans focused on restoring entire ecosystems, understanding that true recovery required a holistic approach. They reintroduced keystone species that played critical roles in their environments. Wolves were brought back to control deer populations, beavers to build natural dams and wetlands, and insects to pollinate the new flora. Each species reintroduced created a cascade of positive effects, demonstrating the intricate balance of nature. As predator-prey relationships stabilized, plant life flourished, creating habitats for smaller animals and insects. Wetlands filtered water, reducing pollution and providing homes for amphibians and birds. The transformation was not only biological, but also cultural. The new humans developed a new ethos centered around sustainability and respect for all forms of life. They blended ancient wisdom with cutting-edge science to create a culture deeply attuned to the natural world. Art, music, and storytelling flourished, drawing inspiration from the rebirth of the earth. Festivals celebrated the cycles of nature, and rituals honored the interconnectedness of life. Education systems prioritized ecological literacy, ensuring that every child grew up with a profound understanding of and respect for their environment. Technology played a crucial role in the restoration efforts, but it was used in harmony with nature rather than against it. Renewable energy sources, such as solar and wind power, became the norm. Advanced biotechnology enabled the continued modification and improvement of plant and animal species to better adapt to changing conditions. Smart sensors and AI systems monitored environmental health, providing data that helped communities make informed decisions. These technologies were designed to have minimal environmental impact, ensuring that humanity's footprint remained light. The new humans themselves continued to evolve. The genetic modifications had not only enhanced their physical resilience, but also their cognitive abilities and emotional intelligence. They developed a deeper empathy for all living creatures and a heightened sense of community and cooperation. Physically, they adapted further to the changing environment. Their lungs became even more efficient, allowing them to thrive in areas with less oxygen. Their skin, now resistant to both UV radiation and pollutants, allowed them to work outdoors for extended periods. Their bodies were optimized for survival, but more importantly, for stewardship. The rebirth of the Earth was a global effort. The new humans formed international alliances, sharing knowledge, resources, and strategies. No region was left behind, and each continent contributed to the planet's recovery. The Arctic and Antarctic regions, once melting at alarming rates, saw the return of ice and cold-adapted species. Deserts were reclaimed through innovative irrigation techniques and the planting of drought-resistant vegetation. As the outside world became more habitable, the domed cities began to be dismantled. Their materials were repurposed for building sustainable infrastructure in the new communities. The once isolated human populations reconnected, fostering a sense of global unity and shared destiny. Dr. Elena Ramirez, now elderly but still active, witnessed the dismantling of the last dome. It was a poignant moment, marking the end of an era of isolation and the beginning of a new chapter of integration with the natural world. She knew that humanity had not just survived, but had evolved into a species capable of living in balance with the Earth. The transformation of humanity and the Earth was complete. The new humans, with their enhanced abilities and deep ecological awareness, were the guardians of a reborn planet. They understood that their role was not to dominate nature, but to coexist with it, nurturing and protecting the delicate balance of life. The world was not the same as it had been before the collapse, but it was vibrant and full of potential. New species, both natural and engineered, thrived alongside the old. The scars of the past were healing, and the earth was once again a place of wonder and beauty. Dr. Ramirez stood on a hill overlooking a lush valley, teeming with life. Birds sang in the trees, a river sparkled in the sunlight, and children played in the fields. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment and hope. The journey had been long and arduous, but humanity had emerged stronger and wiser. In this new era, humans had become the stewards of a living planet, dedicated to preserving its wonders for generations to come. The story of the Earth's rebirth was a testament to the resilience of life and the transformative power of human ingenuity and compassion. And so, under the watchful eyes of the new humans, the Earth continued to thrive, a beacon of hope and renewal for the entire universe.